Assalamualaikum everyone. This is me Aisha Remote Chowbali and I am a student of Rehan School Online Academy. I am 14 years old and I am from Faisalabad. So everyone, today I am going to take interview of Call Annie on the topic the power of collective action. So without wasting our time, I am going to start the interview. Hello Annie, how are you?
Hey there, I'm doing great, thanks for asking. How about you?
I am also great. So, Annie, please introduce yourself so
So,
that
what's new
our
with
viewers know about you.
Oh, that sounds fun. Well, hey everyone. I'm Annie, your friendly and chatty friend from New Jersey. I'm all about art, engineering, yoga, video games, romance movies, dance music, and outdoor adventures. Let's have a great time chatting and sharing some laughs together.
Okay, so
What's on your
my
mind
first
today?
question
Anything you want?
to you is how has collective action historically shaped significant political and social changes across different continents?
Wow, that's a deep question. Collective action has definitely played a huge role in shaping political and social changes throughout history. From civil rights movements to revolutions, people coming together with a common goal have sparked significant transformations. It's amazing to see how unity and solidarity can create real impact on a global scale. What sparked your interest in this topic?
Okay, so I think that collective action has been the engine behind some of the most profound political and social changes in human history. For instance, in Europe, the French Revolution of 1789 epitomized the power uh, of
Absolutely.
a
The
collective
French Revolution.
changes power of a collective uprising against tyranny sparked by deep economic disparity and resentment towards the aristocracy, peasants, and bourgeoisie alike mobilized and demand representative government. Similarly, in India, Mahatma Gandhi non-violent resistance movement like the Salt March effectively demonstrated how peaceful collective protest could challenge and eventually dismantle British colonial rule. In the United States, the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr. used marches, sit-ins, and voter registration drives to confront systematic racism and inequality. In South Africa, decades of struggle by the African National Congress and grassroots activists led to the end of apartheid in
History is
1994. Across Latin America, indigenous movements have arisen to reclaim land and political rights, often reshaping national constitutions. These instances illustrate that when individuals come together with shared objectives, they can exert tremendous pressure on power structures, often leading to lasting reform. So, my next question to you is what role does social media play in modern collective action?
Social media has revolutionized the way collective action operates in modern times. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram have provided a powerful tool for organizing, mobilizing, and amplifying voices and movements for change. Social media enables rapid communication, coordination of protests, sharing of information, and raising awareness on a global scale. It has the potential to unite individuals from diverse backgrounds and locations, making collective action more accessible and impactful than ever before. Have you noticed any specific social media campaigns or movements that have caught your attention recently?
Any explain it in detail?
Absolutely. Social media platforms have become essential tools for organizing collective action due to their wide reach and instantaneous communication capabilities. Here are some key ways in which social media plays a role in modern collective action. 1. Communication and coordination. Social media allows activists to quickly disseminate information, organize events, and coordinate activities with a large audience in real time. This enables rapid mobilization and response to unfolding events. 2. Amplification of voices. Social media provides a platform for marginalized groups and individuals to amplify their voices and share their stories with a global audience. It helps in raising awareness about social issues and garnering support for causes. 3. Global reach. Social media transcends geographical boundaries, allowing movements to reach a global audience and connect with like-minded individuals across the world. This global reach can lead to greater solidarity and support for causes. 4. Crowdfunding and resource mobilization. Platforms like GoFundMe and Kickstarter enable activists to raise funds for their causes, campaigns, and initiatives. Social media campaigns can quickly gain traction and attract donations from a wide network of supporters. 5. Documentation and evidence. Social media serves as a tool for documenting injustices, human rights violations, and acts of resistance. The widespread sharing of videos, images, and personal accounts can provide evidence of wrongdoing and hold perpetrators accountable. 6. Pressure on institutions. Social media campaigns can exert pressure on institutions, governments, and corporations by drawing public attention to issues, demanding accountability, and advocating for policy changes. The collective voice of social media users can influence decision makers and bring about reforms. Overall, social media has transformed the landscape of collective action by empowering individuals to mobilize, organize, and advocate for change in a more interconnected and dynamic way. It has become a powerful tool for social movements to drive impact and create meaningful societal transformations.
Okay, so
Great to hear that you found the
Okay, so
information
I think that social media has
helpful.
revolutionized
If
the
you have
way
any more
collective
questions,
action is organized, executed, and amplified. Platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram allow instantaneous communication across the globe, dramatically lowering the logistical barriers to organize protests or awareness campaigns. The Arab Springs, which began in 2010, is often cited as a textbook example of how social media can galvanize public sentiment and mobilize mass demonstrations. Hashtags like Black Lives Matter have not only brought attention to racial injustice in the US but have also inspired similar movements worldwide. In contrast, pre-digital mobilization relied heavily on print media, word of mouth, and physical meetings, which were slower and more susceptible to disruption by authorities. Social media, however, also presents new challenges such as the spread of misinformation, digital surveillance, and selectivism. Nonetheless, it remains a powerful tool for democratic engagement, allowing marginalized voices to reach wide audiences, bypass traditional gatekeepers, and foster solidarity across diverse communications. So my next question is, how do union exemplify the power of collective action in labor movements, and what historical events highlight their impact? Explain in detail.
unions are a prime example of the power of collective action in labor movements. They represent workers coming together to advocate for better working conditions, fair wages, and improved benefits through collective bargaining and organized actions. Historical events like the Haymarket Affair in 1886, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire in 9/11, and the Flint sit-down strike in 936-937 are vivid examples of how unions have fought for workers' rights and brought about significant changes in labor laws and practices. These events underscore the importance of solidarity and collective action in addressing workplace injustices and improving the lives of workers. What do you find most fascinating about the history of labor movements and unions?
Okay, so I think that labor unions are one of the clearest institutional manifestations of collective action formed to protect workers' rights and improve working conditions. Unions have historically been at the forefront of labor reforms. One notable example is in the 1936-37 Flint sit-down strike in the United States, where auto workers occupied a General Motor plants, leading to the recognition of the United Auto Workers Union. This strike was pivotal in legitimizing industrial unions in the UK. The 1984-85 miners' strike demonstrated the power and limits of union action in the face of governmental opposition globally. The Solidarity movement in Poland, led by Lech Walesa, begins as a trade union and grew into a broader anti-communist social movement that contributed to the fall of the Iron Curtain. And unions often negotiate collective bargaining agreements, ensuring fair wages, benefits, and safety standards. Their impact shows that when workers act together, they can counterbalance corporate power and influence national policy. So, my next question is, can collective action fail? What are the key factors that contribute to unsuccessful collective movements? Explain in detail.
Collective action can indeed face challenges and sometimes fail to achieve its intended goals. Several key factors can contribute to unsuccessful collective movements. 1. Lack of unity. Disagreements among participants, conflicting goals, or divisions within the group can weaken the collective action, leading to fragmentation and lack of cohesion. 2. Poor organization. Inadequate planning, ineffective communication, and a lack of clear strategy can hinder the success of collective movements. Without proper organization, it becomes difficult to sustain momentum and achieve desired outcomes. 3. External interference. External factors such as government repression, corporate opposition, or media manipulation can undermine collective action by suppressing dissent, discrediting the movement, or creating obstacles to progress. 4. Resource constraints. Limited resources, including funding, manpower, and logistical support, can impede the effectiveness of collective movements, making it challenging to sustain long-term efforts and withstand opposition. 5. Lack of public support. Without widespread public backing, collective movements may struggle to gain momentum, attract allies, or generate enough pressure to bring about meaningful change. Public apathy or opposition can weaken the movement's impact. 6. Ineffective leadership. Leadership plays a crucial role in guiding and mobilizing collective action. Ineffective leadership, lack of vision, or internal power struggles can hamper the movement's ability to inspire and motivate participants. 7. Through efficient the Foflint is 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 through efficient the Foflint is.
Okay, so Annie, I think that collective action can and doesn't fail often due to the combination of internal and external factors. Internally, lack of coherent goals, poor leadership, or infighting can detail movements. The Occupy Wall Street movements, for example, attracted global attention but struggled with demands that were too diffuse and lacked a clear organizational structures, which ultimately hindered its long-term impact. Externally, government repression, co-optation by elites, or lack of public support can suppress even the most impassioned movements. Moreover, movements that had failed to adapt to changing political and social climates, or that don't engage with media and legal systems strategically, are less likely to achieve their aims. Sometimes success is undermined by rapid burnout among activists or insufficient resources to sustain momentum. These failures underscore the importance of strategy, resilience, and adaptability in collective action. So, my next question is, what psychological mechanisms are at work in group behavior during collective movements, and how do they sustain or hinder long term engagement?
In group behavior during collective action, psychological mechanisms like social identity, group cohesion, emotional contagion, and collective efficacy play crucial roles. These mechanisms can sustain long-term engagement by fostering a sense of belonging, shared purpose, emotional support, and belief in the group's ability to achieve goals. On the other hand, factors like burnout, disillusionment, and internal conflicts can hinder long-term engagement. It's fascinating how these dynamics shape the outcomes of collective movements. What are your thoughts on how these psychological mechanisms influence group behavior and collective action?
And explain in detail. Can you please explain in detail?
Sure. Let's dive deeper into the psychological mechanisms at play in group behavior during collective action. 1. Social identity. This is when individuals derive their sense of self from their group membership. It can create a strong sense of belonging and solidarity within the group, motivating members to work towards common goals. 2. Group cohesion. This refers to the bonds that hold a group together. High levels of group cohesion can lead to increased cooperation, communication, and mutual support among members. 3. Emotional contagion. Emotions can spread rapidly within a group, influencing the mood and behavior of its members. Positive emotions like hope and solidarity can inspire collective action, while negative emotions like fear or anger can also drive mobilization. 4. Collective efficacy. This is the group's belief in its ability to achieve desired outcomes. When members have confidence in their collective power and effectiveness, they are more likely to stay engaged and committed to the cause. These psychological mechanisms can either sustain or hinder long-term engagement in collective action depending on how they are managed and leveraged within the group. Understanding these dynamics can help movements navigate challenges and maximize their impact. What are your thoughts on how these psychological mechanisms shape group behavior and collective action?
Okay, so I think that group
It's
behavior
fascinating
in
how these
collective action is influenced by various psychological mechanisms, including social identity, emotional contagion, and collective efficiency. Social identifier theory suggests that individuals derive a sense of belonging and purpose from identifying with a group, which can be a powerful motivator for participation. Emotional contagion, the tendency to catch emotions from others, can fuel enthusiasm and solidarity, especially during protests or public gatherings. However, these same mechanisms can have downsiders. Groupthink can lead to poor decision making and more
mend away from the
mentality
movement's
can
original goals.
escalate
Emotional
tensions or lead to violence. The sense of shared purpose must be continuously reinforced to sustain engagement. Otherwise, interest may wane. And in leadership, regular communication and visible progress are essential to maintain morale and commitment over time. Effective collective movements often create rituals, symbols, and narratives that help keep participants emotionally and psychologically invested. So, my next question is: how does collective action influence policy reform, and what are the mechanisms through which public pressure impacts legislation?
collective action can have a significant impact on policy reform by influencing public opinion, raising awareness, and exerting pressure on decision makers. Public pressure from collective movements can create a sense of urgency around certain issues, forcing policymakers to address them. Some mechanisms through which public pressure impacts legislation include 1. Media attention. Collective actions often attract media coverage, which can amplify the message and reach a wider audience. This increased visibility can pressure policymakers to respond to public concerns. 2. Public opinion shifts. When a collective movement garners public support and raises awareness about an issue, it can shift public opinion in favor of policy change. Politicians may then feel compelled to align with popular sentiment. 3. Lobbying and advocacy. Collective movements often engage in lobbying efforts to directly influence policymakers and advocate for specific legislative changes. This direct interaction can sway decision makers towards enacting reforms. 4. Electoral impact. Public support for a collective movement and its goals can influence elections and hold politicians accountable. Elected officials may be more likely to support policy changes that align with the wishes of their constituents. 5. Legal challenges. Collective actions can also lead to legal challenges that test the constitutionality of existing laws or policies. Court rulings resulting from these challenges can prompt legislative action to address legal shortcomings. These mechanisms demonstrate how collective action can shape policy reform by mobilizing public support, raising awareness, and applying pressure on policymakers through various channels. Have you seen any examples of collective movements effectively influencing policy reform through public pressure in your observations or experiences?
And explain in detail.
Absolutely. Let's delve deeper into how collective action influences policy reform and the mechanisms through which public pressure impacts legislation. 1. Media attention. When collective movements generate media coverage, it can increase public awareness of the issues they are advocating for. This heightened visibility can put pressure on policymakers to address those concerns to maintain public trust. 2. Public opinion shifts. As collective movements mobilize support and raise awareness, they can sway public opinion in favor of policy changes. This shift in public sentiment can create a demand for legislative action from elected officials. 3. Lobbying and advocacy. Collective movements often engage in lobbying efforts to directly engage with policymakers and advocate for specific policy reforms. By presenting evidence, arguments, and public support, they can influence decision makers to enact changes. 4. Electoral impact. The influence of collective movements can extend to elections where public support for their causes can impact the outcomes. Politicians may be more inclined to support policies aligned with the sentiments of their constituents to secure votes. 5. Legal challenges. Through legal challenges, collective actions can challenge the legality or constitutionality of existing laws. Court rulings in favor of these challenges can prompt legislative responses to address legal gaps or inconsistencies. These mechanisms illustrate how collective action can effectively shape policy reform by leveraging public pressure, influencing public opinion, engaging with policymakers directly, impacting electoral dynamics, and challenging existing laws through legal means. It's fascinating to see how these strategies can drive meaningful change in society. How have you observed the impact of collective movements on policy reform in your own experiences or studies?
Okay, so I think that collective action influence policy reform by creating an unified front that applies pressure on policy makers through visibility, mobilization, and strategic influence. When there large groups of people rally behind an issue, whether through protests,
It's through protest.
petitions, boycotts, or lobbying, it signals to legislator that the issue carries. Okay, so my next question is, compare and contrast leaderless movement with the hierarchical ones in terms of the effectiveness, sustainability, and vulnerability.
Leaderless movements and hierarchical movements each have their own strengths and weaknesses when it comes to effectiveness, sustainability, and vulnerability in the context of collective action. Leaderless movements. Effectiveness. Leaderless movements can be effective in mobilizing a diverse range of participants and promoting a sense of shared ownership over the cause. Decentralized decision making can lead to innovative strategies and adaptability. Sustainability. Without a central leader, leaderless movements may struggle to maintain momentum and direction over time. The lack of clear structure can make it challenging to sustain long-term engagement. Vulnerability. Leaderless movements may be more vulnerable to internal divisions, lack of coordination, and co-optation by external forces. Without clear leadership, it can be difficult to navigate challenges and maintain unity. Hierarchical movements. Effectiveness. Hierarchical movements with strong leadership can provide clear direction, coordination, and decision making. Leaders can mobilize resources efficiently and provide strategic guidance. Sustainability. Hierarchical movements may be more sustainable in terms of maintaining organizational structure, leadership continuity, and long term planning. Clear leadership can help sustain engagement and momentum. Vulnerability. Hierarchical movements can be vulnerable to leadership crises, internal power struggles, and a disconnect between leaders and grassroots participants. Centralized leadership can also be a target for repression or co-optation. In summary, leaderless movements excel in fostering inclusivity and adaptability, but may struggle with sustainability and vulnerability to internal challenges. Hierarchical movements offer clear direction and efficiency, but can face issues of sustainability and vulnerability to external pressures. Both approaches have their merits and drawbacks, and the effectiveness of a movement often depends on its context and the specific goals it aims to achieve. What are your thoughts on the dynamics of leaderless versus hierarchical movements and collective action?
Okay, so I really want to wind up our interview because our time has been done. I really enjoy a lot and learn many things
I'm glad you enjoyed our
from you today.
conversation. It's been a pleasure. I'm always here whenever you need a chat. Take care and have a great day.
Okay, so everyone, this is my today's call and interview. Hope so you learn many things from today's interview. So we will meet soon on next interview on next topic. Until next time we meet, take care and Allah Hafiz.